You know that feeling of panic when water gets into your house? It's just chaos. But what if I told you the solution isn't just mopping and hoping for the best? It's actually a science, a really precise one. So today, we're going to deconstruct that disaster. We're going to break down exactly how the pros turned that waterlogged crisis back into a safe, dry home. And we'll use a real-world case study to see how it all works. So, let's dive in.
This right here, this quote says it all. See, water damage isn't some mess you can just clean up later. No, it's an active, ongoing force of destruction. And that's why the entire professional restoration industry is built on this one simple idea. You have to act fast and you have to know what you're doing. It's the only way to win.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why it's a race against the clock. Then, we'll zoom in on a really vulnerable spot to see the stakes. After that, we'll walk through the exact process the pros use, get into the cool science behind drying everything out, and finally, we'll tackle those big questions you're probably already thinking about.
Okay, so first things first. Water damage is way more than just, well, things getting wet. It's a full-blown chain reaction. Once water soaks into stuff like drywall and insulation, it basically rolls out the welcome mat for mold and rot. And that's why getting a pro in there and getting them in there fast is just, it's not optional, it's absolutely critical.
So to really get a grip on just how serious this is, let's zoom in on a place that deals with this threat pretty much every single day. We're talking about Timberlane, a community down in St. Bernard Parish, Louisiana. This place is, for our purposes, the perfect case study. It shows exactly why this is such a huge problem in certain parts of the country.
Okay, look at this. What's wild is how all these things just pile on top of each other. You've got a place that's only 3 to 5 feet above sea level. The water table is so high that the ground is already saturated. We're talking just inches below the foundation. Then you throw in the heavy rain, the hurricanes, and that thick, year-round humidity. It's the perfect storm. Water is always trying to get in, and once something gets wet, it just stays wet. It has nowhere to go.
And this is the clock we're up against. In a place as hot and humid as Louisiana, you've got this tiny window of opportunity, because after just 24, maybe 48 hours, mold isn't just a risk, it's pretty much a guarantee. It starts growing on all those wet surfaces, and suddenly your water problem has turned into a major health hazard and a threat to the structure of your home. This is exactly why speed is everything.
And if all that geography wasn't enough, you've got the man-made problems too. A lot of the homes there have old cast iron pipes, and those things are just ticking time bombs, you know? They corrode, they fail. You combine that with a slow, sneaky roof leak that you might not even notice for months, and you've got this constant, hidden threat just waiting to erupt.
So with all that chaos, how do you even begin to fight back? Well, the answer is with a calm, controlled, very methodical process. So let's break down what the pros actually do.
This right here, this is the game plan for every single professional job. It's not just people running around with buckets. It's a really disciplined, 3-step response. Step 1, assess the situation and extract all that standing water. Step 2, start the scientific drying and monitoring process. And finally, Step 3, restore everything and, most importantly, verify that it's all completely dry.
Yeah, and you know, the people doing this work aren't just random guys with fans. They're certified technicians. This certification, the IICRC, is the global gold standard for the industry. And having it means a tech understands the science of it all, how moisture moves through walls, evaporation rates, basically how to dry out a building the right way, especially somewhere super humid.
Which brings us to the science of drying itself. Because let's be real, drying a house is so much more than just setting up a few fans and crossing your fingers. It's a really calculated, data-driven effort. They use something called psychrometrics, which is basically the science of how air, temperature, and moisture all play together. It's kind of like becoming the master of the weather inside your own house, forcing all that hidden moisture to evaporate. And get this, a single one of their commercial dehumidifiers can pull over 30 gallons of water vapor out of the air in just one day. That's water you can't even see. It's trapped deep inside your walls and floors.
So, one of the very first things a pro does on site is classify the water, and this table breaks it down perfectly. Category 1, that's clean water, like from a burst pipe. Category 2 is what they call gray water. It's got some gunk in it. Think of a dishwasher overflowing. But Category 3, that's the bad stuff, black water. We're talking sewage, floodwater, seriously contaminated. And trust me, which category it is completely changes the game. It dictates all the safety gear, the equipment, and the entire approach to the cleanup.
And you gotta understand, the drying part isn't a one-day thing. Nope, it usually takes about 3 to 5 days, sometimes even longer. The techs come in, they set up all this heavy-duty equipment, and then, this is key,
They come back every single day to take readings with their meters, checking for moisture deep inside the walls and under the floors. Based on those readings, they'll move the air movers, they'll adjust the dehumidifiers, all to chase down those last stubborn wet spots. Because a house isn't dry just because it looks dry. It's only truly dry when their super sensitive meters say it's dry. That's the only standard that matters.
Okay, this is a really important point that a lot of people get mixed up. There's a difference between remediation and restoration. Remediation is the emergency response. It's like first aid for your house. Stop the leak, get the water out, stabilize everything to prevent more damage. Restoration, well, that's the full rebuild. That's putting up new drywall, new floors, everything to get the house back to the way it was before. You absolutely need both, and they have to happen in that exact order.
Okay, so we've walked through the whole process. Now let's get into the aftermath. Let's tackle those big, practical questions that every single homeowner has when something like this happens.
And this is usually question number one, right? Especially when you start thinking about the cost. Is it really worth it to hire a professional crew? Well, the answer from every expert out there is a big, loud yes. Look, you might be able to get the surface dry on your own, but the pros are using things like thermal imaging cameras and those special moisture meters to find water that's hiding. And if you miss just one little patch of dampness, you could be looking at a 5-figure mold problem and serious rot in your house a year from now. It's all about protecting your biggest investment, not to mention your family's health.
All right, on to the next big money question, insurance. Is your insurance company actually going to pay for all this?
The short answer is usually, yeah. But there are some really big buts. Your standard homeowner's policy will typically cover something sudden and accidental, like a pipe bursting. What it almost never covers is flooding from the outside. For that, you need a totally separate flood insurance policy. And the absolute key to getting your claim approved, you have to report it fast and you need tons of detailed documentation, which, by the way, is something a professional restoration company is an expert at providing.
Okay, so let's play this out. The worst happens. You walk in the door and there's water everywhere. What do? What are the very first things you should do in those first chaotic moments?
This is your emergency checklist. Burn this into your brain. Number 1, safety first. If you know how and it's safe to do so, shut off the main water valve to your house. Then, go to your breaker box and kill the power to that entire area. Water and electricity are a deadly combination. Once it's safe, move any valuables, photos, furniture, whatever you can, to a dry spot. Then, pull out your phone. Take pictures, take videos, document everything. Your insurance adjuster will thank you. And last, but most important, make the call. Get a certified professional on their way immediately.
So when you boil this all down, what's the big takeaway? It's this. A flood in your home isn't just a mess. It's a full-on scientific problem. You're dealing with physics, chemistry, even biology with the mold. And the only way to solve a problem like that is with a methodical, super fast, expert-led solution. Period.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. We just saw how geography, crazy weather, and old infrastructure create this nonstop threat for one little community. But, as our climate gets more and more unpredictable and our houses keep getting older, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is any home, anywhere, really safe from that hidden threat of water just waiting to get in?